Hey everybody, Kellen Harned with you. Hope you're having a great evening. It's the night before the winter storm. Everybody settle in here. If you haven't had a chance to share the video, if you're on our social streams, go ahead and do that. I know you just got the news alert. If you're on the Wave News app, the weather app is getting ready to hit. So if you've got that app, we try to push it out to everybody so you can jump in and see what's happening. We've got several folks jumping in all of our social streams, so we appreciate that. We're going to talk about a number of things tonight. First up, I'm going to go through the latest data on what the snow looks like for tomorrow and Wednesday, both days alert days. And then we'll talk about some of the flooding that will be ongoing because it's river flooding, no longer the flash flooding that we had over the weekend. But wow, what a wet weekend it was. So those are the topics that we're going to go through. I see your comments if you're on through our social streams, and we've got a number of those, whether you're on the Wave pages or my pages. Thank you for jumping in, and good evening to all of you. I see you chiming in. There's Angela. We've got Jacob from Litchfield. Some folks looking for snow, others not. We'll see how it goes. Some folks are going to get a decent snow and others in the viewing area, not as much. So I'm going to go through that on the latest thinking here for you. And a lot of folks are like, hey, well, how much am I going to get? I'm going to show you the maps coming up here. In fact, let's just jump to what we're sort of talking about. We obviously have the alert day in place for tomorrow and for Wednesday. Right? So I'm going to just go through the data. Our structure goes like this. You know, we always flag days at least as far enough in advance as we're somewhat confident as alert days. They're just meant to be like, hey, pay attention to this day. Could be something. If it stays that it could be something, we keep it as an alert day. If it looks like, okay, things have changed, may not be as impactful as we think, we'll pull it down. Well, last week we said, you know what, mid next week looks interesting. We better flag it as an alert day. Computer model agreement that far in advance, as it has been this year. I mean, look at the wild year we've had, and the models have been in agreement almost a week in advance on most major systems that we had. And here we go again. So we have the alert day from 3 a.m. as we cross the midnight hour here. So it's 3 a.m. Tuesday morning until noon on Wednesday. Now, will it snow that entire time? No. There are different pieces of the system that we have to watch. There will be 3 impactful time periods we have to watch. I'm going to explain those in a second. Overall, we're going to have a heavy snowfall that's going to be fluffy, where it would put down 4 inches or more across a chunk of the viewing area. Now, some areas get less than that, so I'll show you the map on that in a second, but it will produce hazardous travel, especially by early Wednesday, and the very cold air comes in on the back side of that. So that's the reasoning behind the alert day, all right? Now, you're going to notice those 3 time periods that I mentioned here. And again, we'll be fine-tuning these times, trying to narrow it down. What happens is we get closer to these weather events, we try to throw a little more precision in, where we can narrow down the time and really hone in on the amounts and the locations. All right? We're only as good as the data that we have and as good as our education provides, right? So that's sort of the awesome part, is trying to nail it down. And we've been doing pretty good this year, right? So the 3 time periods that we would say have hazards or impacts would be these 3 time periods. We have the initial push of moisture coming in late tonight, after midnight, and it's going to be very light, but temperatures are going to be very cold. So even when we're in the teens, a dusting of snow up to 1 inch, that can cause some major problems. So we're saying you're going to have to watch Tuesday morning. All right. I don't think this is a big deal, but I think it's worth mentioning in case we wind up with that inch of snow that could really foul things up. So if you wake up in the morning, you got precip falling, just know, temperatures are in the teens, could have slick roads. Better watch out. Kev said we might need to watch that time frame. All right, that's one. The more impactful time frame, no doubt, is late Tuesday after we cross that, I'd say, really, it's late at night, but we'll put 6 p.m. in there for now until we get a better handle on sort of the start time. So anytime after 6 p.m., especially beginning in our west, moving east, we're going to, as time goes on, the eastern part of our viewing area may not have snow until very late, maybe even after midnight. But we'll just say after 6 o'clock, moving from west to east until about noon. Maybe out of here by 10 a.m. on Wednesday, the heaviest, but we'll say noon for now. That's when we're going to experience the heaviest of the snowfall. That will be the most impactful part. That's where we're going to see the accumulation. And the higher accumulations, which is why we have especially in Kentucky on there, will be across the Commonwealth. And then Thursday, this one's a little more uncertain. Of course, it's the one furthest away, so we'd expect that, right? But anywhere between the 12-hour period from midnight Thursday until noon on Thursday, maybe a few additional snow showers wrapping around on the backside of the system that could give us some travel trouble spots. All right, so really, when you talk about our alert days, those are the three sort of target times or ranges of times that we need to watch for. Let's check these temperatures. We're at 26 right now in Louisville. Some areas already in the teens. Hello, Bedford, Salem, Paoli, all at 19. North Vernon, you are too. So we definitely have cold air in place. It's only going to get colder, especially if we can clear out behind the system. That means by Thursday and into Friday, we're looking at single-digit lows. Get a decent snowpack, more than we think, we may wind up going below zero in a few places. Now, tonight, we've seen the clouds increase, a few returns on the radar well to our north, but let me zoom this out. You'll see the system that we're working with. First of all, this is some of that snow that will be developing and pushing in by morning. So we see a little bit of snow already on the map. The areas of low pressure back out to the west of us are going to dive further to the south. They'll feed off some of this moisture coming up from the Gulf, and that's why we really open up the moisture feed for us to see pretty heavy snow in some parts of the area. Now, you'll notice winter storm warnings stretch all the way back out across Oklahoma, Kansas, a good chunk of Missouri, the northern half of Arkansas, western and northern Tennessee, almost all of Kentucky from west to east under the winter storm warning. Now, you get north of Interstate 64, it's a winter weather advisory. More on that in a second. You notice our radar and satellite showing the cloudy skies, but not much in the way of snow tonight. Not yet. This is current. What will happen after midnight is we'll start to pick up the snow chance. It'll be light. These are the winter weather alerts that we have. Now, there's some disagreement on how this goes. Listen, we're not here to argue with the Weather Service. You're not going to hear me bashing the Weather Service. We'll give you the information they give, and we're going to give you the information we think, okay? And we're not, you just have to choose which one you want to believe, right? The fact is, the winter weather advisory is a step up from the watch, and so is the winter storm warning. The winter storm warning gets issued when the Weather Service feels that through any specific event, there could be 4 inches or more of snow. And the winter weather advisory is issued when they feel there's going to be less than 4 inches of snow. Now, obviously, it's tough to draw the exact line of where you're going to go between just shy of 4 inches and 4 inches or more, right? That's not the easiest line to draw. It's got to be somewhere. When it comes across the greatest population, you get more people questioning it. Makes sense. Nonetheless, 64 is a good dividing line on this. I do think here in Louisville, 4 to 5 inches of snow looks probable. So could we be in the warning? Sure. Could we be in the advisory? Okay. Let's not get hung up on whether we're in an advisory or we're in a warning, because at this point, we're going to get very similar amounts of snow unless you're pretty far south. And that's where you could get an inch or two more. But even then, it's not that substantial. I'll get into our snow map in just a second. So let's take a look at the future cast. There's that morning blip, by the way, 4, 5, 6, 7 a.m. Boom. It's a quick hitting, light dusting or coating of snow up to an inch in a few places. High snow ratios that we're dealing with this because of the structure of the atmosphere. Very cold from top to bottom. That means it's a fluffy snow, sort of adds up or mounds up quickly. So that's what we're looking at for both tomorrow and again tomorrow night and Wednesday. That piece is in and out. So when you look at the future cast for Tuesday, you see we have a minor snow potential between 3 a.m. and 10 a.m., and then a little more impactful snow coming in later in the evening hours between 6 and midnight, and then that will continue, or between 6 p.m. and then midnight, carrying on to about noon on Wednesday, if we were to carry the futurecast past. So when we look at just Tuesday, again, this goes into Wednesday morning here, but when we look at just Tuesday, and there we go, now into Wednesday, you can see the snow, generally heaviest south of Louisville. I think that's a good bet. And if you were watching yesterday, we talked about that. Some of the models were trying to push it farther north, either along the river or even into southern Indiana. And we were making the case that it's probably going to be just south of us where we have the heavier banding of snow. And that still looks to be the case today. That is in and out. Temperatures are then in the teens, very cold air on the backside of the system. So here's our snow map, and may make minor adjustments by the time we hit the 11 o'clock news tonight, because we are getting new data in right now, and we're going to keep getting data in overnight, early tomorrow. So we'll make adjustments as needed. But you can see generally along 64 and south, it's a 4 to 6 inch snowfall. There may be a narrow band in there where there's 6 to 8. And in a place or two, it couldn't rule out up to 10 inches. It just depends on that ratio that winds up developing. I think the general trend has stayed the same, and that is lower totals across southern Indiana, higher totals south of Louisville. We're sort of in between, and I'm fairly comfortable with that 3 to 5 inch. If I could paint 3 to 5 was on our legend, that would probably be what I put across Louisville, because I do think we're going to fall in that range. 3 to 5 inches of snow for Louisville. But the way we have our colors here, 4 to 6, 2 to 4 coming right into the northern part of the county, that's fair enough, right? So I think that's where we have our snow totals at this point. And, you know, we'll see. I mean, a track farther to the north will adjust things, but not a lot, because you see, even if we were to bring up by 60 miles the storm track, we're still in the 4 to 6 inch range for Louisville. Now, it impacts southern Indiana a little more, where you may expect 1 to 2, maybe you're going to get 2 to 4, but you get the idea. At this point, we're getting pretty close to dialing it in. And then it's just going to be anomalies that happen that maybe we don't anticipate that could change the forecast. But at this point, another round of data coming in through the evening here should really help us know if this is going to jog a little further to the north or not. There have been slight indications that that could happen, that the data may be a little too far south. But we're not confident in that enough to change this map before I came on here at 9 o'clock. This is very similar to what we showed you at all afternoon, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, where we have the general 4 to 6 inch total along and south of Interstate 64. All right. So that is our snow forecast. And when we look at, I'll show you the future cast in a second too. But when we look at the models, you can see the NAM, it tries to go a little farther north. The graph and the HER are our highest resolution models that we have. Now, just because we have better resolution or more data points doesn't mean it's always a better solution, right? Oftentimes that's the case, but not always, especially in the snow world, because we take into a lot of accounts. The general trend, though, for all of the modeling, as you can see, is the lower totals south, higher totals north. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. The lower totals north, higher totals south, and that's what our forecast reflects as well. So that's what we see in the model data, with the exception of the NAM. And I think that general trend will be the case. Whether it wobbles, 30 to 50 miles, okay, that can happen pretty easily in an area of low pressure. But for in general purposes, again, I like the 3 to 5 across the Louisville area. If on our mapping, 4 to 6 along and south of 64, 2 to 4 north, lower as you get up in our northern tier of counties. All right, let's go to just past that. We get past the biggest snowfall, which, by the way, will end before the heaviest of the snow will end before noon on Wednesday. Then we have the whole day to sort of get into the cleanup mode and move it out of the way, whether you're to our south or shovel off our sidewalks or whatever, depending on how much you get. And then we're into Thursday. And we go into late Wednesday night. This is 10:30 Wednesday evening. And you'll notice on the backside of this, after we sort of transfer the energy over into the mid-Atlantic, we get more wraparound moisture coming in on the backside of this. Will it make it this far to the west? I think it's possible. I'd say I-65 is a decent line there where we could still see some of that snow, and certainly across eastern Kentucky. And that was the third point where we said, all right, we probably need to watch Tuesday morning for some light snow showers, certainly Tuesday night and Wednesday through about midday, where we're going to have the heaviest snowfall potential. And the third impact point was late Wednesday night into early Thursday. And that's because of this. So we could have some minor accumulations with this. The best chance along and east of I-65 for that. And then that's out of here. And we're left with just some cold temperatures coming in on the backside of that. That shows where the potential light accumulation would be for Thursday. And then look at these numbers. By Friday morning, yikes, we're in the single digits. Some areas, if we're off on the snowfall by a few inches, we're going to wind up going closer to 0. But you got Somerset and Paducah at 5, St. Louis and Springfield at 3. Look at the negative double digits out to Omaha and Cedar Rapids. Here in Louisville, 7 degrees Friday morning. So Thursday and Friday are cold. Saturday's cold too. We trended our 10-day forecast cold. Did that yesterday. If you were watching yesterday, whether it was on Wave News on TV or on our 24/7 weather stream, which is Louisville's only weather stream, by the way. We're proud of that. Or right here on Wave Weather Now, which is on the weather stream and all of our apps. You noticed our temperatures were probably much colder than what anybody else was saying, because we really felt that the models were all in left field on trying to bring in that warmer air far too quickly. So we kept the temperatures fairly cold right through the first of the weekend. Now, the alert day, again, tomorrow, 2 snow chances, 1 light and scattered in the morning, but still impactful. 2, a better chance later in the evening hours, ramping up as we go past, especially past 10 p.m. So we'll ramp that up right into the midnight hours. So that's Tuesday's look at the alert day. And then, of course, Wednesday's an alert day too, and that has the greatest snow potential early in the day. And then we'll fade that down by midday to just some light snow showers, bring that back up Thursday morning with just a few light snow showers lingering around that could, again, have some impact in terms of travel. All right, that sort of takes care of the alert days. As much as we can pinpoint it at this time, we've given you the snowfall forecast. We've given you the timeline of it and the impact points of when we think it could be most impactful. So let's turn to just a few questions that you have here, and then we'll reset and talk about some of the flooding, because that's still a problem that's ongoing. We haven't forgotten about the weekend rain that has certainly left a lot of people just in a mess, and I'll show you some of that coming up. My hometown down in New Haven, Nelson County, hit hard. And we've got some video to show you from there. All right, let's jump in. I'm going to pop in some of your questions. Carol says, winter needs to fly the coop. I think everybody's sort of getting sick of it. Though, by this point, just like somebody said yesterday, if it's going to be cold, may as well snow. Whatever. It's still February, right? I shouldn't complain. It just means we get far less slip. I wouldn't mind it if it weren't just so nonstop. It's like tornado warnings, flood warnings, winter storm warnings, back to record heat. It's like, oh my goodness, just give us like 1 a week instead of 3 a week. Maybe that would be better. All right. More to your questions. Sorry for the soapbox. Here's Tom. What time's the snow supposed to start tomorrow morning? Well, that's a good question, and I'll put that timeline up for you, Tom. In general, it looks like most areas, 5, 6 o'clock, a few light snow showers and flurries would be around. So I'd suspect that if we're going to see anything, somewhere between that 5, 6 o'clock time frame, you should start seeing some light snow. And we'll carry that through the morning rush, so up until about 8, 9 o'clock. So that is the time frame tomorrow morning, which is why you see our peak at 40% during the 7 to 8 a.m. time frame for tomorrow morning. And then it really ramps up tomorrow night. All right. Let's see. Kevin is saying, could any of these overachieve like yesterday? Yeah, we wound up getting 2.8 inches of snow. We thought we might get up to an inch. We got 2.8, so it almost, more than doubled what we thought we were going to have for Sunday morning. There's a chance. This will not be a heavy, wet snow. This is going to be a lighter, fluffier snow, higher ratios with this snow. So it will accumulate more. So, yeah, if we can, you could imagine if we're tweaking the ratio, that really gives us more snow than the models can grasp. So that's ultimately what our forecast will be banked on, is what is the thickness of that cold air and how cold is it? We won't really know that until we can get more higher, finer resolution data to know just how cold that column will be. We know it's going to be cold enough for snow. There's no question. We're not going to have to deal with sleet or ice or freezing rain, anything like that, or rain for that matter. This is an all snow event for everybody, which makes that nice, right? We don't have to worry about that piece of it. But really defining, on a 10-to-1 ratio snow, if we have 1 inch of precip, that's 10 inches of snow, right? But in a situation like this, we could go early morning, maybe as high as 20-to-1. That means for a half inch of precip, that would be 10 inches. So you get the idea that if we're looking at a 1-inch snowfall, we don't have to have very much moisture in the atmosphere to see that. So again, I think it could overachieve, but I think we're taking into account some of that as well in our forecast. So some good news there. Christine says, hey, I'm just checking in real quick and need to get to bed. Well, hopefully, if you were looking for snow information, we answered your question there. Todd's saying a weather model still says sunny and 7. Todd's weather model is stuck on San Diego. I'm just running through your comments here, so we'll roll through them. Kevin, Louisville changed to a warning on this system. Will Louisville change to a warning? Again, we're right on the edge, but I think it's possible because we're right on the edge. I think if the data comes in tonight where it looks like we're going to be solidly in the 4 to 5, maybe 6-inch range, sure, they would kick us to a warning. It's not odd to see a row of counties added to the warning. It just will depend on the data that comes in tonight. So I'm sure the Weather Service is watching that. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. Some of the data is trying to trend a little farther to the north. And if that trend continues, and if indeed that happens, then the warning would be issued for Jefferson County. So wouldn't rule it out. Does it really matter? No. All right. Let's see here. Judy, still wet in Campbellsville. Oh, man, you all had a ton of rain down there. A lot of problems, too. A lot of roads closed across Taylor and Adair counties down there. How about the feeling of school closures tomorrow, or school closures? Now I'm just making stuff up. I think definitely by midweek, Wednesday, sure. I think JCPS is out for a gold day tomorrow, so they don't have to worry about Tuesday. But Wednesday, sure. I think there's going to be a lot of school closings on Wednesday. Tina says, yay, love snow. It's beautiful. It is pretty. That snow on Sunday was really pretty because it was kind of a heavy, wet snow, so it stuck on there. The wind was sort of blowing too, so it blew it on everything and just stuck there. It was beautiful. Is the snowfall map a little different, Kevin? Let me put that back up for you. It hasn't changed much since earlier. Again, we change it as frequently as we get new rounds of data in. We don't just react to the data because it's not like, oh, new data, here's what it says, let's change the map. No, what we're looking at, I'm being transparent with you, what we're looking at is to see if we need to jog the heavier snow band a little bit farther north, because what we've noticed in some of the data this afternoon is that there was a slight jog north. And we're only talking about like 20 miles. That's not that big of a deal. You may not even notice it if we moved it on the map. We accounted for that because we didn't buy into the whole extreme south or extreme cutoff on that northern edge. If that happens, we're going to be wrong. If there's a sharp cutoff on the northern edge, we're wrong. I just don't buy that that's going to happen. I think that we see a gradual decrease in the precip as we go farther to the north with a solid increase across parts of the Commonwealth, which is why we still have the 2 to 4 painted across parts of southern Indiana. If you were looking at some of the models, especially the higher resolution models, they try to cut that northern edge off, which would mean we would bring those bands real tight together. But we spread them out across most of our southern Indiana counties. Again, if that's a wrong assumption to make because of what we see in the other model data, then we'll be wrong on that. But right now, I'm comfortable leaving it like that until we get, we have still, 3 more rounds of data before the storm even arrives. So we can make some changes to this, and there will be some changes. I hope they're minor, and I feel like they will be. Typically, that's the case, this close to the system. All right, I'll leave that snow map up just for a second. Bring on the winter storm warning for Louisville, says Amy. The snow lovers are having their year. They're like, yeah, bring it on. We don't care. We're not going to work. We're not going to school. We're not going to work. We're having fun in the snow. All right. I don't blame you. Let's see. Is Ryan out getting all of his sled? Yeah, exactly. Now, he was here just a few minutes ago. He's getting rested up for the winter storms are bad. They're sort of like our hurricane season, right? If you live on the coast, because if you're a weather guy or girl on the coast and you have hurricanes, you spend the night at the station and you feel like you work all the time. Well, that's the way winter storms are for us. It's like, oh, man, these things take days to get through here. So, all right, let's see. Oh, Alan Jones is chiming in. There will be at least 4 inches, Alan says. All right, well, I can buy that. I like that. I would choose around. That's why I said 3 to 5, right? Gives you an inch on either side, 4 right in the middle. I take that. Could this be our last snow of the season? Now we're just dreaming for springtime. No, this will not be the last snow of the season. All right. Nick says Kevin keeps it real. We try to keep it. We try to keep it real until we get slap happy. When I get tired, it just goes off the rails. It happens. I can't help it. All right. Let's see. Jamie just says, thanks for the update. Don't forget, I'm going to show you the flooding information. I know a lot of people want the river information, and they're like, I thought you said you were going to show. I am. I've got the river data, but we're just talking about the snow for now. All right. Let's see. Bring the heavy stuff to Louisville. Why do we not have a winter storm warning, is asking Nathan. Well, that's up to the Weather Service, and they feel we're going to get less than 4 inches of snow. So that's advisory criteria. Each of those have criteria, right? The advisory, the warning is 4 inches or more of snow through an event. The advisory is less than 4 inches. So they have to draw the line somewhere, and it just happens that we fell in the advisory here in Louisville and across southern Indiana. Higher snow totals to our north. It's not a bad call, but it's easy to adjust up a county if the data trends that way, if they need to. All right, Ethan is saying, so there is a potential for the track to move northward, bringing the heavier snow amounts toward us. Sure, but not by much. Again, I mean, look how wide that 4 to 6 inch band is. It goes from I-64 all the way down to the Tennessee border with a very narrow band in the middle. And we sort of paint that band in the middle just to say, hey, there's going to be a few places somewhere in here. Too hard to, I can't like circle your neighbor and be like, okay, you're going to get the 8-inch total and you're going to get the 7.5-inch total. No, we just do this for like illustration purpose to say that there is a band of heavier moisture. And with the ratios of the snow we're looking at, it could be somewhere, well, it will be somewhere south of Louisville as it appears in the data today. Can that come a little farther to the north? Yes. Is it likely that 6 to 8-inch band would come to Louisville? No. That's not likely. All right. Tanya's asking about Cave City. Well, you can see right there, we've got you in the 4 to 6. Higher totals just to your north. Now, if that band were to move a little further south, you would be in it because it's so much closer to you in Cave City. All right. Larry says, watch you every night in downtown Pee Wee Valley. Well, we appreciate that. Love Pee Wee Valley and appreciate you watching, Larry. Thank you. Just remember, y'all, that we can't technically draw a line Exactly. I mean, it doesn't work like that. It's not such a sharp cutoff, right? I know everybody just pays attention to their yard and you measure it and you're like, well, here's what we got. But, sometimes your neighbor's yard's a little different than yours. It depends on a lot of things, really. Mainly for us, it's the moisture content in the atmosphere. May not all drop right there. Everybody, it's not an even dispersion of precipitation, whether that's rain or snow. The bad part is snow, people really hold us far more accountable, which is not a bad thing, because it's so much more impactful and it's more visual. The rain, if we miss that by 1/10 of an inch, well, you may never know, right? You're like, unless you got none. But if you got, 0.15 and you were supposed to get 0.5, or even a better example, if you got a 1/4 of an inch of rain, but you were supposed to get 0.15, so we were 1/10 of an inch off, you may not even know it. But in the snow world, you would, and you'd be like, whoa, boy, you blew that one. So snow is a little more unforgiving to forecast. All right, let's see. Dan says, I should have parked in the garage at the airport. You were watching last night, Dan, and you're a weather geek too. You, of course, should have parked inside. You'll save a few dollars, though, if you didn't. So you got a scraper. It's not going to be ice. You'll be all right. I sometimes like the cheap route, which isn't cheap anymore, by the way. What is it to park anyway? It's like $15 a day or something crazy. All right, back off the soapbox. I may just leave this comment up. Candace is like, just look at the map, people. Yes, just look at the map. It's there. And it will change. That's the important part to know. That's why I hate leaving it up this long. Just a little more north, Kev. Come on, back it in. Bring the heavy snow in. Here we go. All right, we'll see how that works. All right, good question. Does higher snow ratio snow melt faster than lower ratio snow? Well, good question. It's all about moisture content, right? So a lot of that depends what's to follow, right? Sublimation likely occurs a little easier in the fluffier, lighter snow, but that's where we would just go from one phase to the next, and sort of bypass the liquid stage. But the melting part, that's a good question. I suspect a lot of factors go into that: the ground, temperature of the ground, makeup of the ground, and then of course what comes in behind the system, how bitterly cold it is. Obviously, at 5 degrees, nothing is melting too fast, but higher moisture content typically fades faster. All right, let's see. Any quiet? Oh, that's a good one. Any quiet weather coming? Please. Yeah, I'm with you, Anita. Yeah, it does. After we get, once we get past this, and I'll show you the 10-day at the very end, we still have the ability to see a few snow showers, not just Thursday. That's not the end of it. You remember I said we would get past Tuesday and Wednesday's alert days, but early Thursday, there was that third sort of point to watch. And then Saturday has a few snow showers in it for the forecast looking to the upcoming weekend. And then we get into some warmer weather after that. All right. Alex, I have a flight into SDF on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Do you think the impact will be mainly over by then? I do. I think the greatest impact is out of Louisville by late morning. All right, Nick. Nick's asking about tomorrow morning. We mentioned that. Let me just plop that map up. So again, tomorrow morning, we have the opportunity to see just a brief burst of snow, or light snow showers, really. It's not just a burst, but there you see it at 7, 8 o'clock. Some light snow across the area. This does not last long and would put down very minor accumulations. But look at the temperatures in the teens. And therein lies the problem, because it's going to freeze. It's going to cause some slick spots. So you've got to be mindful of that. All right. And then we have the wish casting that I like. Christian's like, I have a feeling it's going to trend north. If we all just think it, let's all just take a minute and think about it. Maybe it'll just, by 11 o'clock, we'll be like, hey, look at this. All the runs in the data point to a further north movement. All right. Janice, keeps life interesting. Yes. Keeps us without getting sleep is what it does, right? Is there going to be ice with the storm? No, that's the awesome part. That makes it a little easier for us, when we don't have to worry about the different precip types. This is a cold column from top to bottom. We're dealing with very cold air, and that makes it much easier. Bullitt County schools are on NTI tomorrow due to flooding. Yeah, big flooding across a good chunk of the area. All right, I'm scrolling down. A lot of folks asking about just the shift northward. It is possible. Steve Howard, such a great, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I got interested in weather because it looked fun. John Belsky always made it look fun. And obviously we have some serious times. Winter storms are one of those. We're trying to get it right, clearly. We're on a lot more than we used to be. So we have the ability to communicate what, the hazards are, the impacts are, the effects of the weather may be. But most days, the weather should just be fun. It's something everybody can relate to. It's a challenge for us as meteorologists to get right. And that's fun in its own right. And I just love the fact that, an imperfect science, an unexact science, which is rare, right? Like a lot of the science field's exact. It's pretty stringent. The fact is the weather is always changing, and we only are able to calculate it by assuming we can stop it. And we stop it and we make a calculation, but by the time it's made, the weather's already moved on. So that's why we're not always 100% right. It's tough. Especially when the weather's really active, and boy, has it been this year. So it is a fun science to try to pinpoint, but it's a fun job, and I really appreciate John being a mentor to me, and watching him and Tom and working with them for years, especially in winter weather and severe weather, was always a lot of. It was eye-opening. It was very educational for me. And this business has changed a lot too. The way we communicate. I mean, here I am sitting in a studio controlling everything on my own. I don't even need to stand in the main studio anymore to do this. We're reaching thousands of people right now. Well, many thousands of people through all the platforms that we're on right now. And we can just do it like that. And that's the thing. It's changed so much. Whereas before, if you wanted to know the weather, you had to make sure you were in front of the TV at 6 or 11, right? Now it's like, well, everybody's carrying one of these. You want it when you want it, not when I want to give it to you. So consequently, we're on a lot more. And the data has changed too, right? I mean, we get higher speed computers that crank out the data a little faster. The accuracy has gotten a little better. So that's all very helpful. All right, back to some of your questions. Dylan, how confident are you in the shifting north any? Not real confident because we haven't got the next, and I don't have the model pulled up in front of me here, but what we will be looking for is if there's any consistency in a northward jog, which would be about a 25 to 50 mile jog north, in that data, which I will continue to point out is not going to make that much difference for us here in Louisville. It's just we're in the 3 to 5 is what I'm saying, but technically in that 4 to 6 inch band. Even if we moved it 50 miles north in Louisville, we're still in the 4 to 6 inch band. So it's not like we have a huge gradient across the viewing area. Most of Kentucky is going to fall somewhere close to 4 to 6 inches of snow. I think that's probably accurate. With the data that we have. And Joshua saying, so that map may update tonight. Sure, we update the map all the time. It's just a matter of how much we have to update it. I suspect there won't be a whole lot of change to it, but we'll see as we get a little closer. Let's see, Chris, I saw Chris asking, are the cams showing any banding? And if so, where is consistency? Yeah. Again, I'm going to re-look at we'll go through all the models right after I finish here. The main banding that we're talking about is not the individual bands, but more that plume of moisture where we had higher moisture content, and consequently, as you go further south, the ratios change because it's a little bit wetter of a snow instead of a drier, fluffier snow. Farther north, the profile in the atmosphere, the temperature change from top to bottom is a little bit different the further south you go, as you could imagine it would be. So even though we may increase moisture content in the south, we're lowering at that point the ratios. And so that's why it's a little bit of a tricky forecast. You start getting along and south of the parkways, the ratios may be somewhere around, 10 to say 14 to 1, but you get further closer to say I-64 and those ratios may be like 17 to 1. So even though you may have less moisture, you could still wind up with more snow, deeper snow. See how that plays with it all? Yeah, not the easiest thing to figure out. Everybody wants to, what about this closing? What about that closing? Gator's asking about, is there any possibility of U of L to close? I don't know their rules on closing. I suppose there is a possibility. It depends. They used to never close anything. Now it's like everybody can do whatever from home, so close it down. It's sometimes easier just to do it from home, right? It's not the case in our world. We did that through COVID. We worked from home. You talk about crazy. I mean, they had stuff set up at my house where I could just step out on my back porch. They move the camera around. I just go out and flip a switch in the truck, and boom, I was on. That was kind of wild. Nice in a way. And in another way, I miss being around everybody at work. I'm a little more creative when we're sitting next to each other trying to come up with ideas. All right. All right, back to a few more of your questions here. Sorry, all of a sudden my eyes have gotten blurry or the screen has gotten blurry, one of the two. There we go, moving Mark. Oh, thank you. Kevin and the team are top notch. Michelle moving in. Alabama, love Alabama too. We have a lot of stations in Alabama. Josh Johnson, my buddy down in Montgomery. Wes Wyatt over in Birmingham. Tune into those guys. Been a roller coaster with JCPS this school year. That's true. I feel like most schools have been in on that. Some folks down in Campbellsville saying hello. Beverly, back at you. All right. Well, I tell you, yeah, here's one. Paoli Peaks must be loving this. Isn't that the truth? They've had a crummy season in the last like 4 or 5 seasons. And anyway, here they are with a pretty good season. Dave and Gene say, shoot the ground. Oh, Punxsutawney Phil. Now, here's what I like. Farah is a cousin. So instead of just texting me, she has posted in here. So I can, that's easy. Farah, I might have missed it. What time do you feel the snow will start? I think we have a chance in the morning. So down in your area, closer to LaRue County. I think you see a few snow showers 8 a.m., 7, 8 a.m., and then perhaps a few more late in the evening hours after that 5, 6, 7 o'clock time frame. I'm just realizing I have the future cast still up here, so I'll change that back for a second to the snowman. A lot of folks just saying hello. There's Lebanon. Appreciate you watching. There's Kathy in Trimble County. Thank you. Nancy's just saying thank you. Thank you to you. I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a quick break. I know a lot of you had other questions about the snow, but that's pretty much the snow. I do want to talk more about the flooding and give you some river levels. So those folks that may have been popping in for a look at what the river levels we're going to do, including in Louisville. And I want to show you some video that we have from both Shepherdsville and down in New Haven. So I'll take a real quick break. And then when we come back, we'll go through some of the flooding. And then if we still have snow questions on the backside of that, we'll take that. So hang with us here just another 1 minute, and I'll reset, and we'll be right back. All right, and we're back with you here. Appreciate you hanging in there so we can get some graphics queued up. Thank you. I'm just zooming back through the comments. I'm trying to keep up. We have a ton of comments in here, and I'll tell you, I'm going to try to pop up as many as I can here. First of all, Beverly is chiming in, wanting an answer. I haven't seen your question, Beverly, so apologies. And if you think you can get the answer somewhere else faster, then try that, I guess. But when you have about 10 different social streams coming into one place, the questions are flying by. So I can't get to every question. And you can be nasty about it if you want, but I'm doing my best to answer them. And that's what we're doing here, is just a friendly weather conversation. So sorry if you're not coming up to the top of the list, but ask it again, and I'll try to answer it. But keep putting in snarky remarks, and I can't see anything but the snarky remarks. So here we go. Let's see. Kathy's saying she remembers when Tom Wills first came to Wave 3. She's 66 now. Only weather my dad would watch. Yeah, Tom was here for 40 years. So that was a long time. Let's do a little flooding conversation here, and we'll see if Beverly jumps back in with her question, and I'll be sure to answer it. First of all, you'll notice even in Jefferson County, we do have the Ohio, both the upper and the lower, coming in minor flood. So, and I'll show these more specific in a second, but the current reading for the Ohio upper is 24.14, still forecast to go up about another almost 4 feet. So that's still going to rise, and that's both on the upper and the lower gauge. So again, you can see we're at 24.14 on the upper, forecast to go 27.8. The one that stands out is the Rolling Fork, farther to the south. That's now at 47.34, still forecast to go up just a little bit more. It's in major flood. Let me show you what that looks like from a drone video here that we have. And you're going to be able to see that it's impressive. When you look at out
towards Athertonville.
And that's looking out toward Athertonville, as you heard Stephen Howard say. This is a video from Stephen Howard down in Nelson County. You're going to see this pan over to the right here in just a second. As we swing back to the left, that's toward Athertonville there. And here it comes back to the right. You're going to see that a small town of New Haven, which, by the way, is my hometown, so I'm familiar with New Haven. And there you see it looking all the way up through some of the farmland that's flooded. And you see the church in the distance. That's St. Catherine. There's the small town, of course, right in the centers where you have 5-star. We'll tilt down. That's the Kentucky Railway Museum. And it's not, in the past, the floodwaters have gotten all the way up to the railroad tracks. But you'll notice 31E flooded there. That's in front of the IGA, or the grocery store, just out of sight. Pretty much that parking lot that you're seeing right at the bottom of the screen. But a lot of water down there. And that's what we were looking at in Nelson County. Now, Bullitt County, more of the same. You certainly have high water there. And you move those barricades and you're in trouble, especially if it's dark. So what happens is you're driving along. Imagine that barricade not being there. This is a drone we're flying, so we're not in a car here. But imagine if you were in a car and that barricade was gone and it's dark and you're driving along, and then all of a sudden, whoa, where'd the road go? And now you're in that water and it has a current to it. And believe it or not, you're floating within just a few seconds. That would be a problem. So that's why we always say, turn around, don't drown. Could be problematic, like roads like this down in Shepherdsville. So be careful is what we say on that deal. All right, let's jump back to it. We've got more to get to in terms of river levels here. So I'm going to just go through some of them. First of all, the Ohio River Upper, you'll notice that at 24.14. What that means is some sections of River Road are closed from 3rd to 8th Street. That's why some of the flood walls are going up. Juniper Beach gets cut off. Parts of Campbell Street, Frankfort Avenue, Mockingbird Valley Road, all closed. Right turns onto River Road from 64. They start to shut that down. So that's sort of where we're at when we're in a minor flood, which is what we'll be in for the rest of the week. All right. And that's on the upper gauge. Let me show you what it looks like on the lower gauge. Again, coming in at 55.28, expected to go to 59. That will keep it in that minor flood. And what that causes will be parks and riverfront areas in Clarksville and New Albany to flood. Some yards along 31W, that's Dixie Highway, from PRP to West Point, also flood in that category. So that's what you can expect there. All right, so that's the minor flood. When we're looking at the rolling fork, that is in major flood, and that will stay there for a bit longer. Should start to recede as we roll into the day tomorrow, but in major flood, houses in the low areas in Boston flood. Flood walls begin closing in Lebanon Junction, and I don't think we'll get to 50 feet. But if we were to be off on the forecast and it go to 50 feet, the town of Boston gets cut off, 3 to 6 feet of water in west central parts of New Haven. So we're not there yet. This isn't quite that bad, but it still would be considered a major flood for those folks across parts of Nelson County. Let me put up the 10-day forecast here. And you'll see the 2 alert days for the snow coming our way. And then we're followed by a few snow showers early Thursday. That was that third point to watch, remember. And then drier but colder to end the week. Single digits early Thursday, early Friday. And then we're back to some warmer temperatures, thankfully, mid next week. But Saturday's a day to watch, too. We could have some snow showers around on Saturday, too. So let's jump back into just a few questions here. I'm looking for Beverly. I haven't seen Beverly. Beverly's nowhere to be found. All right. Don't say I didn't look, Beverly. Can you say anything about Rough River flooding stage? Oh, Landon, I don't have that in front of me. Hang on one second. Maybe I can. Maybe I can. Bear with me. It's not the easiest on, I'm on a series of computers here, so the screen is about yay big, so it's not always the easiest to find on these computers. Let's see if we can find it, though. I want to be able to show it to you. Let's see. All right. Rough River, let's see. One moment. No, I don't have that in the graphics here. I don't have it, so I apologize. And then Tiffany's comment popped up here because I was clicking around. So Tom the Heavy, well, let's see. So I'm Kevin, and I assume that's who you're talking to. Could start at 5. I have an appointment and don't want to be stuck, or maybe you're talking to someone in the room. It looks like the snow late tomorrow will be after 5. So you should be good for 5 tomorrow. And even 5 on Wednesday, depending on how much snow you get. And then Sarah's asking about how the snow will affect the flooding. Well, obviously, any precipitation, whether that's rain or snow, if the snow melts, it puts water into the tributaries. So yes, that will be a problem. It just takes a little longer, which we need, right? Where any amount of time we can buy is helpful at that point. All right. Oh, Tom is tomorrow. I got it. I thought we were talking about Tom Wills earlier, so I was like, anyway, this is what happens when you go on like little sleep, right? See, I told you we get slap happy if this starts to happen. There you are. All right. All right, I'm looking for your questions. Anybody, here's another one. Travel questions. Is it okay to travel tomorrow night? When should you be concerned with travel issues? Yeah, Austin, I think, keep an eye on the radar. Again, western parts of the viewing area, it snows first. So depends where you are and what time you're talking about. I wouldn't want to be out past, I don't know, 9 o'clock. Probably starts to snow, slick up after that. But again, if it speeds up by an hour, I'm off an hour. If it slows down, buys yourself another hour. So that's the kind of thing tomorrow will be helpful in determining. That's where I was saying earlier, the precision gets better as we get a little closer. We start narrowing down the time and spatial sort of qualities, meaning how much and where, right? All right. So the totals we mentioned earlier for the snow, in general for Louisville, 3 to 5. Higher totals just to our south, 4 to 6. So that's what we're looking at. Last snow of the winter, no chance for that. I think that we still have more snow to go. I think that this is the winter that keeps on giving. We're already over 19 inches of snow for the season. So that's pretty impressive compared to what would typically be average for the season, would be like just over 13. So we're already running well above average for that. All right. Well, we're coming up on 10 o'clock, and I do have a few things I need to do before the 11 o'clock show. So I'll say thank you for everybody that's jumping in, and appreciate you being here. We'll do this again tomorrow night, and we'll go through by this time tomorrow. It'll be snowing somewhere either nearby or in the area, and then we'll have a really good idea of sort of where those heavier bands or the heavier totals will be. But even late tonight, we'll have an idea. So I encourage you to jump on and tune in at 11 o'clock when we're back on. I'll update the snow map. Some of the data coming in now will help sort of shape that. And then the overnight round of data for Tawana in the morning will also help sort of finalize our forecast for tomorrow. And then obviously, if we're seeing any issues unfold tomorrow morning with the light snow showers that would be possible beyond sunrise to pass any of that along. It doesn't take a lot of snow when you're that cold, when we're in the teens, to really cause some problems. Even if the roads are treated, and I know they've been putting out some salt and in some locales some brine, and that'll be very helpful, but it's still bridges and overpasses that have that cold air circulating around them. They can get cold enough to get some slick spots on them, and especially when you don't realize it and it's like, oh goodness. Or if the flooding waters are still over some of the roads, that can freeze too, and you've got just a sheet of ice and you never want to hit that moving at a forward pace. So you've got to be careful if you're headed out during the early morning hours tomorrow. Anthony's asking, where would this rank as the snowiest of winters? I'd have to look at that data. We pulled January. We were at our 8th snowiest January on record. But of course, February, we haven't had a ton of snow this month. We did just have 2.8 inches on Sunday, yesterday, but we'll see where this brings us up to. If we hit our mark between that 3 to 5 inches here, we'll add that in. I suspect we're not anywhere close to the top of the list for snowiest of winters, but certainly January went down as snowy, and we'll see how February winds up. I'll pull those. We'll have those for you tomorrow. I'll look that up when we're finished here. And then Tiffany is asking about the time for snow Thursday. That would be an early morning snow chance if we're going to see it. Better chance on Thursday is along and east of I-65. So that's the best. Kevin's asking, does the model recognize the ratios? And that's a good question. We have the ability to sort of tweak the ratios, so we can tell it what we want the ratio to be in some of the in the in-house modeling. In the other models, no, it doesn't always. You can look at it at 10 to 1 or what the model thinks the ratio may be. So there is a little, at least it's not stuck on 10 to 1. You can swing it to what the model thinks it should be. But if the model is off, then the snow forecast is off, right? So yes, there is a little bit of wiggle room in there, but that's a good question because not all models pick up on that. And a lot of the models just crank out the 10 to 1. So you sort of do the math in your head and figure out, okay, well, that one's cranking out 2 inches, but it's way below what we think it's going to be. We need to add another, X that variable in there. All right. All right. Well, I will let you go. We've sort of started the what time trend. Maggie's asking snow start tomorrow, Tuesday. That would be late tonight, early tomorrow morning as well. 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Some light snow showers, and then the bigger snow comes in Tuesday night, late, and early Wednesday. All right. How accurate are the weather radars at interpreting what the weather says? Pretty accurate. They take, they're harder when we have the mix, obviously, because, it can only interpret so much. And some of that is based on how the return is coming back to the radome, and others based on the temperature profile. So, they do a decent job. Sometimes it takes a couple of scans to get it. And a lot of times our precip is in flux. So by the time, if we're looking at a radar, and depending on the distance we're looking at the precip, the further out we go from the radar, the higher we're shooting in the sky. So it may look as snow, but if there's a warm layer, actually what's falling may wind up being not snow. Could be a mix. Could just be rain. So that's why sometimes it's tough by just looking at the precip types on the radar. It's another reason why we always say there's nothing better than a set of eyes or the ground truth. We can pay millions of dollars for radars, but man, there's nothing better than having somebody say, hey, it's raining here, or hey, we've got a mix of rain and snow, or it's heavy snow here. So all of your reports are very, very helpful when we have active weather going on. Thank you for the question, Mike. All right, I'm going to say thank you. We will come back again tomorrow evening, and we'll be on here. Of course, Brian will be here in the morning, and Tawana's on first thing on Sunrise. So if you're tuning in, I'll see you at 11. Tawana will see you on Sunrise. Brian's back in this room tomorrow between 9 and 10, and we'll jump into the winter storm and see what's changed between now and then. We've got a little bit of time. Hope you have a great evening. Get some sleep, and we'll do it all again tomorrow. All right. So have an enjoyable night. See you in just about an hour.